Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today, as we come to our word from the word. And today, that word is betrayed. Betrayed. Now, as we've been talking about Hosea and been in the book of Hosea, and he's told to go marry a wife of harlotry, and how that is basically aligning with God's people, his chosen people, the Jewish people, nation of Israel, and even the divided kingdom. And even through all of that, he's saying, y'all are doing the exact same things. And so he's using that as an example. But today, as we come to Hosea chapter 5, uh, he is directing some of this towards the leaders, towards the priests, towards the citizens of Israel. He is saying, look, you were supposed to have all these things together. You're supposed to know what to do. And I mean, it trickled from the top down. Now, in researching this too, I ran across a commentator who had put it this way, talking about the generation and how we pass along from one generation to the next, and how apostasy goes in with that. And you think about, I've referenced many times in the book of Judges, right? That every time you see that they kind of had these ups and downs, but every time that they had a down was when it says that another generation arose that did not know the Lord nor the things that the Lord had done. And that's what we see in our culture today, is that okay, that generation that maybe was so strong in the Lord in our nation has now passed on, and they failed to pass along the importance of that to the next generation. And now we see the next generation doing even worse. And the commentator Robert Jameson said the case is desperate when not only the existing but also the rising generation is reared in apostasy. Now, with that thought in mind, hear what is said in Hosea chapter 5, verses 4 through 7 today. They do not direct their deeds toward turning to their God, for the spirit of harlotry is in their midst, and they do not know the Lord. The pride of Israel testifies to his face. Therefore, Israel and Ephraim stumble in their iniquity. Judah also stumbles with them. With their flocks and herds, they shall go to seek the Lord, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn himself from them. They have dealt treacherously with the Lord, for they have begotten pagan children. Now a new moon shall devour them and their heritage. Now, to think about it, there were probably, with all the temple pagan prostitutes that they had, with these other cults that were surrounding them and that they had become such active participants in, it's not surprising that you would hear about illegitimate children coming from those relationships. But it really speaks to even more so than just the physical illegitimate children. It really is pointing us to the spiritually illegitimate, right? That they don't know the Lord. They refuse to know the Lord because of the way that Israel had turned against God, the way that they had betrayed him. I know sometimes people will look at this and they say, well, look, they says they'll search for the Lord and they won't find him. He had withdrawn from them. And you think about, as much as you have done, as much as I have done, right? And we think about that, man, there's nothing that can separate us from the love of God, right? And Romans chapter 8, and we love that passage. But we also seem to fail to remember that sin clogs up the communication, clogs up the relationship between us and God. And so there, as a just as a married couple wants to keep those lines of communication open, just as sure as they want to be faithful to one another, this picture that we see that God is painting through the book of Hosea, he's saying, look, I want you to be faithful to me, and I'm going to continue to be faithful to you. But at the time, you think about how much it would pain and hurt him to see his own people betray him. He says, look, they keep on despising me. They keep on spitting in my face. They keep on disobeying my words. And this has gone on and on and on and on and on. And so God is withdrawing from them. It's funny, though, that we would often think, well, I can't believe God would do that. Well, have you ever stopped to think, I can't believe that God's people would do that? How many times in our lives, and maybe even in the lives of others, you've heard people or known people, or you've been that person yourself to be walking so far from God. And then when something happens as a result of your sin, that you blame God. You say, well, where is God? Where is he at now? See, we don't need to be betraying God. We need to be coming in closer and closer, a more intimate relationship with him each and every day. And we don't do that by turning to idols. We don't do that by turning to other pagan religions and cults and the materialistic world that we live in to chase after the almighty dollar and chase after the next greatest thing or prestige and promotions and all these things, right? We don't need to chase after those things. We need to chase after the Lord. You know, it's something that even here to see, as he says, they were turning toward God, for the spirit of harlotry is in their midst. It is the spirit of idolatry as well. That same spirit that we know, the spirit of the Antichrist that is already in our midst, it's that same spirit that wants to draw us away from the Lord. So today, don't listen to the enemy. Spend time with God. Spend time with the one that you fell in love with. We've been talking about on Sunday mornings, right? The in Revelation, the letters to the seven churches, the church at Ephesus, right? He says, you have left your first love. I have no doubt that you know what it feels like to be betrayed. You know how painful that can be. Why would we ever want to do that to the one who bled and died so that we might inherit eternal life? Today, let's be faithful to the God who's always faithful to us. God bless you. And I pray you have a great, great day.